So now we're going to cover our next lesson on chord secants and tangents. So on here, we have our chord product theorem. So if two chords intersect in the interior of a circle, then the products of the lengths of the segments of the chords are equal. So sounds super fancy, but here you have the whole chord from A to B. Now, if you break it right in the middle between A and E, you're going to take A and E and B and you multiply them. Okay? That is going to give you the exact same number if you break down chord CD. So you go from C to E and multiply it times E to D. I should give you the exact same number. So when we're solving for X here, what we're going to do is, here's my chord here, the 3 and the 6. So I'm going to have to multiply 3 times 6. That is going to be the exact same thing as this other chord right here. We're going to break it down. One part is 2 and the other part is X, so 2 times X. They want us to solve for X. So 3 times 6 is 18. And then 2 times X is 2X. To solve for X, we're going to divide both sides by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. All right, the next part. We do the exact same thing. So here's my first chord. We're going to go ahead and multiply them. So we have 6 and we have X plus 4. Now I am going to put the X plus 4 in parentheses because it goes together and we're going to have to distribute that 6 to each one. Okay. Now this one we have X is the first section and 12 is the other section. So we're going to go ahead and multiply it. So X times 12. All right. So let's go ahead and simplify. First I'm going to go ahead and distribute that 6. So 6 times X is 6X. 6 times 4 is 24. Equals X times 12. We usually write the 12, the coefficient in the front, and then the variable at the end. So now we're going to start solving for X. I'm going to go ahead and move over this 6X by subtracting. And we get 24 equals 12 minus 6 gives me 6. To solve for X, we divide by 6. This cancels. 24 divided by 6 is 4, and we're just looking for X. So that's it. We're done here. All right. Our secant product theorem. So the product of the lengths of one secant segment and its external segment equals a product of the lengths of the whole segment and its external segment. So sounds super fancy again, but what we're going to do is we're going to take the whole thing and then multiply it by the outside part. So here's the whole thing from A to E, and we're going to multiply it by just the outside part, which is B to E. Okay? Then you do the same thing with this one. You take the whole thing, which is from C to E, and you multiply it times just the outside part, which is D to E. Okay. So here it says find the value of the variable. So we're just looking for X. Okay, so here we take the whole thing from N to P. So the whole thing is going to be 4 plus 8 is 12. Okay, and then you multiply times just the outside part. So my outside part is 4 equals. I do the exact same thing for here. The whole thing is 6 plus X. Now, I don't know what X is, so I'm going to have to write it as 6 plus X times just the outside part. The outside part here is 6. The part that, when I say outside part, I mean the outside part is the part that is outside the circle. All right, now we're going to simplify. So 12 times 4 is 48 equals, I'm going to distribute the 6 to each one, so it'll be 36 plus 6x. And then we solve for x. So I moved over the 36 first. 48 minus 36 is 12. The 36 cancel out, and we're just left with 6x. We divide both sides by 6. 12 divided by 6 gives me 2. All right, the next part. Okay, the exact same thing. We take the whole thing, the z and the 8 together. Now we don't know what z is, so we have to write it as z plus 8. And we multiply it by just the outside part. The outside part happens to be 8. Equals. And we use the other side. So this whole thing from here to here is 9 plus 9, which is 18. And we multiply it times just the outside part, the part that's outside the circle, which in this case is 9. So in my calculator, I'm going to go ahead and do 18 times 9. That gives me 162. On this side, I'm going to have to distribute this 8 to each one. So we have 8z plus 64. And we're going to solve for z. So first, I'm going to move over the 64. This cancels and we get 8z equals 162 minus 64 is going to give me 98. And my last step to solve for z is to divide by 8. So when I divide that by 8, that gives me 12.25. All right, the next one. So on here, we have the same thing. So on this side, I'm going to take the whole thing. Okay, that means that I'm going to have to add it together. So x plus 3, I'm going to add it to the 8. Okay, that whole thing, we multiply it by the outside part. The part that's outside the circle is the 8. Equals. Then I take the whole thing on this side. So the whole thing is the x minus 3 plus the 10. So the x minus 3 plus the 10. And then we multiply it by just the outside part, this part that's outside the circle. So in this case, it is a 10. And then we're going to go ahead and simplify. So in the parentheses here, I have 3 plus 8, which is x, x plus 11. Times the 8 equals, I'm going to simplify the part in the parentheses also. So negative 3 plus 10 is going to give me a positive 7. And I multiply that times 10. Okay. Then next we distribute the 8 to each one, so it'll be 8x plus 88 equals, here I'm going to distribute the 10, so it'll be 10x plus 70. And then we start solving for x. So I'm going to go ahead and move over the 10x. This gives me negative 2x plus 88 equals 70. And move over the 88. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write this up here. We get negative 2x, the 88's cancel out, 70 minus 88 is going to give us negative 18. We divide both sides by negative 2 and we get x equals negative 18 divided by negative 2 gives me a positive 9. Okay. Hello? All right, so then the next one here is the secant tangent product theorem. So here it says the product of the lengths of the secant of the segment. So just like we did the outside of the whole on our secant, so we take the whole thing and multiply it times the outside. You are going to do that, but it's equal to our tangent line squared. So here's my tangent line, whatever the distance is, you're going to square it. Okay, so here I'm going to do the exact same thing. The whole thing from here to here, 12 and 4 together, that gives me 16. And then we multiply it by just the outside part. My outside part is a 4. Equals. My tangent line here is x. So we're going to take the x and we square it. So now 16 times 4 is going to give me 64. Equals x squared. And then to solve for x, we take the square root. So 8 is equal to x. And that's it. So let's try the next one. So this time here we have, this part is 9, which is my tangent line. So that one is equal to 9 squared. And for my secant line, we take the whole thing. Now the whole thing, we don't know what y is, so we have to write it as 6 plus y. That would be the whole thing together. Times the outside part. The outside part is the part outside the circle, which is a 6. And so I'm going to solve for y, but first I have to distribute. So we get 36 plus 6y equals 9 squared is 81. We move over the 36 by subtracting. And we get, let me see, 81 minus 36 gives me 45. So 6y equals 45. Let's scroll up. Then from there, to solve for y, we're going to divide both sides by 6. So 45 divided by 6 is going to give me 7.5.